Welcome to this short video on IBM Db2 Log Analysis Tool for z/OS. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to replicate activity. Replication allows you to take transactions that occur on one subsystem and replicate those transactions onto a downstream system. One reason why you may want to consider using replication is from the reporting perspective. Instead of potentially impacting your production system, you may want to replicate transactions and then perform reporting on a different system. In summary, I will be running a setup job which will perform several modifications. These will be inserts, updates, and deletes. I'll review the job to note the time it started and completed. I'll use those times within the log analysis tool to generate a load file. With the load file generated, I'll run the job to replicate the inserts within another table. After replicating the inserts, I'll view a sysprint of the targeted table, showing the content. I am accessing the dataset list utility to locate the job that I want to run. The job is located within pdbob lahol.jcl. And the specific job is lab2. So I'll edit lab2 to show you the JCL. As you can see, the specific job is to perform inserts, updates, and deletes. And more importantly, the insert content that I want to replicate in a downstream system is this content that I show you here. So I'll submit this job, and then navigate to SDSF to view the job status. The job that ran is AUD LAB2. I'll select this job, make a note of the timestamp for the particular job runtime, which is 10/34/19, Wednesday, March 17th, 2021, and the job wrapped up at 10/34/19 on the same date. So these are the timestamps that I want to use within the log analysis tool. So let's navigate back to the ISPF main menu, go to the Db2 products panel, and then into the log analysis tool. Within the log analysis tool, I want to replicate activity, so I'll choose option 4 to generate a load file. I first need to enter the date of the job that I want to capture, and then the noted start time. To ensure that I capture the job information, I will enter a range encapsulating the noted runtime of 10/34/19. I will enter 10/34/18 for the start time and the end time of 10/34/20. For the object filters, I will enter an M, which is my name. I'm just going to run a general report to show the changes that have been made. So for both detail report and summary report, I'm going to select no. The job identifier will be rep1, short for replication. I need to enter an object filter to identify the content that I'm looking for. Entering a T for table. The table creator is std01, and the table name is undtb1. I'll hit enter to save the filter, and then function 3. Now I'll be presented with the load data in the Db2 panel. You will see the job identifier of rep1 will be populated here. For general report data, I'll make sure that's at N for no. These are different forms of output that I can create. Delimited output, no. Fixed external format, no. Header information, no. This is identifying that I do not want certain information from the log to be added to the table, such as the time of the change and what was changed. For data only, I want a Y to simply state that I only want the data replicated. If the target table doesn't exist, I do want to select Y to create it. Both database name and table space name have to exist. So the database name is UNDDB, and the table space that I'm going to write into is REPLICAT. For the log, I'm going to enter a Y. So when the inserts get done by the load, it will be identified in the log. For the load specification, I will enter a B because, as I mentioned earlier, I only want the inserts. Then I will accept the defaults for the remaining options. Now for the source entries, I need to identify the table that I'm loading from, which is the owner STD01, and the table name of UNDTB1. I want to load those into the downstream table with an owner of STD01 and the table name of Target1. This table does not exist, but the job will create it and then perform the load. I'll hit enter and then enter again to edit the JCL. So this is the job. As you can see, it will read through the log to generate the general report. Then it will create a detail report. Then it will do the load details, run the DDL to create the target table, preceded by running the load utility to populate the target table. I'm going to run this job and then simply enter an R to the job name just so I can easily identify the job. And then navigate to SDSF to review the job. So I'll select the job, and I can see that the last step received a 4. So I'll take a look at each step. The general report will show the transactions performed. The action identifies that the table is picking up 2 inserts. Then if I look at step 3, this is the actual load portion of the job. Here is the insert statement. Note that the destination table is STD01 and the table is Target1. And then if I scroll to the right, you'll see that there are 2 records inserted into this table. The reason why one of the job steps received a 4 is due to the resume of yes. So it created an empty table space, and if there was data, do not overwrite it, but just insert the new content. Because the table was empty, it just inserted the 2 rows. So at this point, I've gone back into the hands-on lab library and run lab 2A. I'm going to perform a select against the target table so I can view the content. Submit the job, then take a look at the job that I just ran. And you'll see that it has 2 rows. Thus the 2 rows that were inserted into STD01 were replicated into the target table. So I have successfully replicated the data into a downstream table. Thank you very much for watching.